Hello everyone, this is Jimmy Kelly with Network Empire, and we're excited to kind of dive into the course that you just purchased. We're going to be going over basically how to set up GSA, how to utilize Gscraper. We're going to go through how to use Content Machine 3 to build your content to use in conjunction with GSA, and we're going to supply a little bonus at the end for those of you that like to learn a few tricks or two, and at the very end we'll go over basically lessons learned by myself through using this tool. Um, you know, for those of you that might not know what GSA is, it's an automated link building tool. It's similar to SENuke and Magic Submitter and other type of software of that caliber. Um, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this course. Um, if you ever have questions or anything at the end, I do offer consulting at jimmykelly.org. You can also read more about me by visiting that page, and I've been excited to join up with Network Empire and hoping that there's going to be many other courses to come, and look forward to seeing you on the inside. Hello everyone, this is Jimmy Kelly with Network Empire again. And before we jump over into the videos where we're going to go over GSA and the software programs you need to get that goes along with the GSA SER program, you need to go over and pick up Gscraper. You can just head on over to gscraper.com, and you want to pick up their Gscraper Pro lifetime license. It's just $68 one time. And the other additional thing you need to pick up with them is jump over to their Buy Proxies tab and go ahead and pick up this additional pack number 1 for $66 per month. This is going to give you unlimited proxies to use, and for those that aren't familiar with Gscraper, this is going to go out and actually find places on the web that you could basically post links to. And so what this does in a nutshell is it'll produce a list for us that we could then use to import over into GSA, and then GSA does the link building, but you can look at this program as doing the link finding. So go ahead and head over to Gscraper, pick up that program and the additional proxies, and we'll go over those settings in a few videos, and we'll see you in the next video where we're going to go over GSA and the required software needed for that. See you soon. Hi everyone, this is Jimmy Kelly with Network Empire. I'm going to be going over some GSA training for you guys over this video series. And there's a few things you guys need to know. This is kind of an introduction video. And these are the main pieces of things you'll need to go and acquire before you start going through the training course, as we're going to be going through the setups of all the different options and software that you'll be using throughout this course. So the first thing that you're going to need is a hosting provider. You want to get a dedicated server. So the one I usually recommend or use that I've had the most success with is Hostimus. And as you can see here, I usually just click into here and I try to find when they have dedicated hosting available. You can go with the VPS as well. I found that for me it just doesn't work as well with the settings that I use. So I definitely recommend getting a dedicated server. Does look like they have one available, and then the others are kind of sold out right now. So it's kind of a hit and miss. You'll have to go around and look for, you can go to Solid State, SEO. There's a bunch of different ones out there that will offer a dedicated server that you can use. Now there's some things you want to be aware of while you're picking out your dedicated server. And you want to make sure that I recommend at least 8 gigs of RAM that will be available to you. The reason being is we are going to be using Gscraper and GSA, and Gscraper is a tool in which it's going to go out and find the links that you need that you'll be able to post to using GSA, which is the automated link building tool that's going to post links to that for whatever targets you're wanting to do. Each one runs off of, they'll do a maximum of 4 gig each, and so I always try to say go more than 8 gig, but if you want to know the bare minimum you could go, I recommend 8 gig. The next thing to look at is your processing speed, your processor on those, because while even though the capabilities of GSA and Gscraper kind of max out at the 4 gig, you want to be sure that it'll be able to process everything. It's got to go through and submit emails, and it utilizes a lot of processing power. So typically, the better processor you can get, which with whatever server you're looking at getting, if it's a tiebreaker where you have the same amount of gig RAM per server, then you want to make sure that you're going in and maybe choosing which one has the better CPU at that point. And always, you don't want to be limited on your bandwidth. Make sure it's an unlimited bandwidth that you're getting. You don't be choked down in the process that your machine is using. Now, also I want to point out, I don't recommend don't put this on your home machine or something like that and expect to get the same results, because you won't. And it's a good way, if you're not familiar with GSA, that can lead down a path of your ISP getting frankly quite mad at you and possibly banning your IP. So you need to know that this needs to be put on a server. Don't skimp on that part. You're looking for at least 8 gig of RAM and at least a real decent processor, or the best that you can find. Okay, so the next piece of software we're going to have to get is you want to run over here to search-engine-ranker.gsa-online.de, and we'll of course put all these links down underneath this video. But you're going to want here, and this is going to be the software that you're going to get, the GSA SER. SER stands for Search Engine Ranker, and this is the automated backlink machine that's going to go out and post all these links to all these different sites that you're going to acquire through Gscraper. So you're going to need to buy this, because this is probably why you're taking this course. The next piece you're going to have to get is the Captcha breaker. So Captcha breaker, it's basically just something to solve. You've probably seen them where they're asking you like a question, or if you don't know what a CAPTCHA is, it's those weird looking letters or numbers that they put up to verify that you're a human and not a bot. This will make the automation process of solving those CAPTCHAs way easier. You're going to need this in conjunction with your GSA. At the bare minimum, this is the 2 pieces that you'll need. GSA also comes with other add-ons that you can get, and you're welcome to play around with those and add them in. But these are the 2 primary ones that I recommend and that we're going to go over into this course. The next thing you're going to need to do, I'm going to teach you how to use Content Machine 3, and this basically will create the content that we need to be able to insert into GSA that we'll be posting our links with. And I've used many different ones over the years, Wicked Article Creator. There's a lot of them out there, but for this instance, we're going to teach you how to use Content Machine 3. Looks like this price here is $217. It's been hovering around there for a while. It's a lifetime license. I would just pick it up for that. So you'll be able to get this for, $217 is not very much for an entire year's worth of content. The next thing you're going to need to go along with GSA to make sure it's running like a well-oiled machine is you're going to have to get some proxies. I usually go to buyproxies.org, and I look at the semi-dedicated proxies. Let's scroll in here. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. We're going to go in here and we're going to get semi-dedicated proxies. I always personally get 100. For people starting out, you probably want to get at least 50. I wouldn't go any lower than that, otherwise you're going to have pretty low link building speeds. I mean, If you don't mind waiting, it's fine to go with the lower ones. I'm not saying you do or don't have to do a certain thing, but um, you know, as a spam tool goes, more is better in in my philosophy. So at very least, pick up 50. The settings I'm going to be showing you are going to be based off the 100 semi-proxies, and you can get that from buyproxies.org. And the very last piece is you want to go and pick up a copy of the best spinner, and the best spinner works in conjunction with Content Machine 3. And Content Machine 3, when you're putting together the content, there's another option and key that you can plug in, which you can utilize the best spinner in, that will give you a higher uniqueness with the spins that you'll be doing using that tool. Now, and this isn't very much either. This is only $77 a year with a 7-day trial of only $7. So, there's no affiliate links or anything like this. I'm just showing you guys what you guys need and what we're going to use and go over during this course. So, as a checklist, you want to go pick up, this is the link building tool. You want the GSA capture breaker, goes with GSA. You're going to want Content Machine 3, and that goes with GSA also. And you want to get the best spinner, and that goes with Content Machine 3. Oops, don't want to be confused here. And you definitely want to get some proxies. I recommend 100, but don't go lower than 50. And then the secondary thing that you can get is not required. I'll show briefly how you can set it up. You can also get a secondary captcha service where if this one fails, so let's say it can't solve the captcha that pops up, you can also add in a secondary captcha service that you can plug in to fill in the gaps where this one might fail. GSA Captcha Breaker does a pretty good job. You should be running at about, on average, I'd say I run at 70% captcha solving. So it's up to you if you want to plug in a secondary service there to try and make up where that one leaves off. But personally, on most of my stuff, I just use this alone. So that's basically kind of an overview of the tools you'll need. Again, we'll put these links down at the bottom of this video so you can make sure to go out and buy the required pieces of software that we'll be going over and setting up for you. And we'll see you soon in the next video to start getting you set up on GScraper. Hello everyone, this is Jimmy Kelly with Network Empire, and we're going to go over how to basically log into your server using a remote connection. I know when first time you start dealing with connecting into servers, sometimes it can get a little confusing. So here's what I'll make sure everybody's on the same page. We know that there's people of all different levels in this course, so I want to try and make this as simple as possible for maybe some of those that aren't as familiar with doing this as others. So just a precursor here, we will be going over, I am a Windows person, so be going how to log into that using Windows. But for those Mac users out there, you can download a similar program that will help you connect with remote desktop connection. Here's a URL of a program that you can utilize. It's cord.sourceforge.net. I'm sure there's others out there if you can do a search for it. Anyways, you can go through these and figure out what configuration settings you need to make that connection out to your server. With that said, we're just going to jump right in here. So you can see I have this already kind of in here already, but if you are having a hard time finding where the location of this program is, you can type into remote desktop and then you can see it pops up here. You can go ahead and click on that. Once you get it, you'll be able to just do a quick connect through your recent programs box up here. But we're going to log into our server for the first time, so I'll just go walk you through this. You'll get your login details and everything you need for your server through your provider. If you haven't gotten them after you've paid and it's been a while, I suggest checking your spam folder, as sometimes those can end up in there. But let's just jump right in. So I'm going to come in here, and you need to type. First thing we need to do is type in the IP, or wherever it could be URL based as well if they send you that, but more times than not it's going to be an IP. So we're going to go and type that in. I'm going to click on show options, and more times than not your username will probably be administrator. Rare cases it might be something else. So I'm going to go ahead and click connect, and we'll just give this a minute. You saw that error pop up there a minute ago. Jumped the gun a little bit. The hosting company is not quite ready for me to log in, so I just contacted them and took care of that. So now that you're in here, you'll get your username that passed up, but of course they're asking for a password. You always want to type this in. Don't go and copy and paste it. I found that sometimes you'll get an error even though it's the same password. You have to type this in from wherever you get it from. Something with Windows 7 that causes an error from time to time when you're copying and pasting. So just enter it in manually from whatever you get. I'm just going to pause this video while I log in, so I'm not giving away the password, obviously. Okay, I just entered in that password, and the next thing you're going to get is a screen that's going to ask for a security certificate. Since you know that you just purchased this and everything, it's okay to go ahead and trust this. So I usually click on don't ask me again for connections from this computer, and I just hit yes. And it should just take a minute and log us into our server. And here we are, sitting on the server. So now there's not really any other. You might need to ask your provider if there's any other settings you have. Once you start running GSA, sometimes it won't let you copy and paste or do weird stuff between your desktop and the server. That's obviously a question that you'll have to ask your provider what those settings are to get that fixed. If you're using Hostimiss, I've never run into problems in that area. So basically this is how you connect into your server using a remote desktop connection, and we're going to start installing GSA and Capture Breaker next in the next video, so we will see you soon. Hello everyone, we're back again for another GSA training video, and on this video we're going to kind of show you how to get GSA up on your server and then activating it. I will be pausing here and there just so you guys don't snag up my account information. I'm sure you guys can follow along pretty well other than a couple of those pauses. Anyways, as soon as you go and purchase GSA, you should get an email back, and it will have your license number in it, your username, which will probably be the name you registered to get the product, and in there will be a link. They don't send you the download link directly, so what you do is you go and you download the trial software, and then when you open it you're going to import that link. And so first thing you're going to want to do is just go to www.gsa-online.de, and on this page you can basically download everything that you should have purchased from the previous videos. And so you'll come here and you're going to want to grab the search engine ranker version 8.09 or whatever version it might be when you're looking at this. You're going to go ahead and hit download, and the second one that we told you to get would be the Capture Breaker. This happens to be version 2.5, and you're just going to go ahead and download that. And you'll want to do that once you're logged onto the server. So we're just going to download these onto the server, and then we'll come right back and pick up again. Okay, so we have these downloaded on the server now. You can see the exe files that are here on the server. So one thing I might point out is when you first connect up to your server, it might run a little sluggish. You want to make sure that you're installing all the Windows updates or whatever updates are required by Microsoft when you first get it. Some of those updates can really help speed up your connection time so you're not getting as much lag in between. So just make sure you double check that. A lot of times when you get the servers, they're not going to be up to date. So let's make sure you get all the latest updates installed as well. That should help your connection speed and everything. So we'll go ahead and start installing the search engine ranker. I'm just going to double click on the exe file. Let's go ahead and hit next. You do accept the agreement, hit next again, and this will be fine. Or you can specify a different folder path if you want. It's up to you where you'd like to create it. And we're just going to hit next. And these are all fine. Definitely want to make sure that you keep the add Windows firewall rules, otherwise you're going to have a really hard time when you start running GSA. Let's go ahead and hit next and install. And we're just going to let this run. Let's give it a couple of minutes here. And I'll just pause this while this finishes up. Okay, so we got this installed, and it automatically opens once you finish the install. You can read the terms and conditions if you want. Obviously, if you don't agree, you're not going to be able to use the program. So go ahead and agree and hit OK. And in here, you're going to have a box that pops up. Just go ahead and hit register. You should have the registration, the serial key from what you had before. Just going to type in my name here, and this will be in the email that you received from them. I'm just going to pause this while I input my serial key. I went ahead and put in the key and the username. We're just going to hit OK now. And it should go and restart the program. And then you shouldn't see this box pop up this next time when it comes up. Okay, and now that you've registered this, it's not going to pop up that message of the demo version. This is how the screen should look like when you pull it up. One thing you want to make sure of is down in the bottom right, you'll sometimes get a green Update Now button that pops up. You want to always make sure that you're keeping this program up to date. Usually they're updating either different link targets that you can utilize, or it's a something that the program needs just to be able to post well and be running smoothly. So you always want to make sure you're keeping this up to date. Even if projects are running, just stop it, update it, and then just go ahead and restart once it reopens. So now that we got this going, I'm just going to pull this off to the side, and we want to get Captcha Breaker going in the next video, and I will see you there soon. Welcome back again. In this video we're going to show how to install Captcha Breaker. Again, I apologize for some of these videos being a little basic, but we just need to make sure everybody's on the same page. So you want to go ahead and double click on this, and we're just going to hit next again, and you click I accept the agreement, next again. Go ahead and pick the destination that you want to put it in, and just click through that again. Double check and make sure that add Windows firewall rules is checked. One of the most critical things out of any that you don't want to skip. Just go ahead and hit install, and we'll just wait a few minutes and wait for this to install. Okay, now we installed this, and it opens up for the first time. We're not going to look at these settings right now, but we just need to get this registered in our name. So you can just hit OK, and you're going to be familiar with this screen again. You want to go ahead and click register, and it'll be the same song and dance as last time. You guys and gals should be getting very familiar with this by now. Just type in name, and I'll pause this so I can put in my serial. After putting in the serial number for your the account key that you need, you're just going to hit OK. She'll restart the program. We'll give it a minute here. Typically it'll do it on its own. If it doesn't, you can just go ahead and hit OK if it's giving you a little bit of lag time. And that'll typically kick it on. Now that it's restarted, you can see up here it says who it's registered to. In this case, it's me. And we're not going to go into the options or anything quite yet, but you'll have this portion ready for when we go over the settings and videos to come. In the next video, we're going to teach you how to set up your G-Scraper. Make sure that's installed on your server, and I will see you in the next video. Hello everyone, and welcome back. In this video, we're going to teach you how to install G-Scraper onto your server. When you you'll get an email back after it takes a while to activate your G-Scraper, and basically you just need to go to Qzx400 and that will bring up this screen. Once they've received and processed your payment, they will email you back a key, and that's what you want to put into this box. And so just going to pause the video real quick while I put in that key so we can get this downloaded onto the server. So I'm going to just pause the video right now. Okay, now that that's downloaded, it comes in a zip file, and I just went ahead and extracted the zip file. So we just have it here in a folder. And I'm just going to open this up. And you just want to come in here and start the application for it. So you just double click on that. And see here again, this is why it's important to update the Microsoft Windows updates, because it's calling that we need to update our .NET framework. So we have to go into the Windows update and make sure that we get that download down. So I'm going to go ahead and go do that, and then we'll come back and finish up this installation. Okay, and we're back. I updated that .NET framework on for the server, and so now when I go to install G-Scraper, it comes up just fine. It's asking for an update log. Do you need to show this in the next load? I always hit no, so I don't have to see extra windows popping up when I'm running it. So we're just going to wait a minute for this to kick in. And you can see it pops up just fine. And so I'm going to stop this video, and in the next video we're going to go into how to configure and set up your G-Scraper so you can get the most out of your money with this software. Again, this is used to basically scrape for targets that we will then use to put into GSA that we'll be able to put our links into for whatever destination we want to choose. So just going to stop this, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, and welcome back. Now that we've got most everything installed for what we need to get started, we're going to go in and configure G-Scraper. Now, as I said before, this is used to find target URLs. So it's important to take your time. Really, if I had to answer one question, your power is in your list with GSA. So basically it means the better your verified links and the higher quality they are, the better GSA will perform for you. So finding good targets to post to, and also keeping your list clean and up to date, so you're guaranteed to basically get the majority of your links verified, is very crucial in making sure that everything runs smoothly. So what we want to do is, first off, we need to make sure we install our user key, and so you're going to want to come in here and put that in just so it verifies with the server. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So once you have that in, you just want to go ahead and hit sign up. Once you put the key in there, it's going to pop up this little box, and you just want to go ahead and hit yes because it's going to bind it to this machine specifically. You can always unbind it later if you're wanting to move servers or something in the future. Just go ahead and hit yes, and right here you can see the status says signed up, which means that was successful. Now you could name your G-scraper different things, you know, your instance name here. You don't have to. I usually just leave these blank just because I'm not really saving it for a specific task, but you're welcome to name what your scrape is going to be. And then of course your edit remark can be some notes that you want to keep for the project. Language I don't ever really worry about. We're just going to move on over to the proxy tab, and want to make sure that your use proxy your use proxy scraping and checking is checked, and then you'll see this red flashing box here that says get proxies from G-scraper server. Hopefully you went and just want to click that get proxies at G-scraper server. This is the extra $66 a month that we paid for. So when you click this, it says when open multiple instances, other instances will close immediately. You just want to hit yes because you probably won't have this open anywhere else on any other servers. So I'm just going to hit yes. And you just give it a minute. It says operation was successful. And up here, I always try change and retry more results. I always try to get as much as you can. Sometimes they'll run into an instance where an IP gets blocked on a certain URL, and so it'll go back in and retry on a different IP, and it just helps you get a lot more results. If you go over to options next, it's going to come into here, and it says right here you want to click on oops. I want to scroll down here and it says remove duplicate domain at scraping. This will help so as it goes around the web and scrapes for the footprints that we're going to put into it, that you're maximizing the amount of unique domains that you're getting, which of course will help our IP footprint as we're trying to hide what we're using. I also like to use this. I've always found I like to just do this in batches of 50,000. Just because I've found on some of my servers it just has a hard time when I'm uploading more than this many to the server. It depends on the RAM of that server. Because this one's a little bit smaller than what I normally get, I'm just going to set this to 50,000. Timeout seconds is 15. And I usually crank my threads up to 150. Then process priority above normal, and I usually leave these two checked. Clear URL list before scrape start and remove use keywords at scrape finished. So this will help as you're going through the keywords that I'll show you where we put in, that it removes them as it goes along and scrapes and finds those across the web. So now we'll just go to the scrape tab. Now in here, this is where we got to do a few settings that are a little more than clicking buttons. Your footprints, this is where Gscraper has its own set of footprints that it knows how to post to, and these are different web properties out on the web that it's identified with, and it knows how to post to these certain websites. And by giving it these footprints, it's going to ensure that what we're finding using our link searching tool, basically, GSA will actually be able to post to. And so we'll go over that. So we're back again in this next video. Apologize for that last video. I might have sounded a little groggy from there. It's getting pretty late at night, and caffeine was definitely draining from the system. So being back again, we're going to teach you how to put in these footprints. into Gscraper. So to find these, you want to go into Options, and then you're going to click on Advanced, and you want to click on Tools, and you want to go to Search Online for URLs. Now in here, so you want to scroll down to the bottom left here. It says Add Predefined Footprint. So you just want to click this open, and the ones we typically want to get, so there's two different ones that I want you to create a list for. So the first one is the safe method. In the safe method, we're going to use the article, so add all from article. And you can see it's putting those footprints up here in this text box here. We're going to come down, we're going to grab microblog, add all from microblog. And we're going to keep going. Go to social bookmark, add all from social bookmark. And we're going to keep going. The next one is social network, add all from social network. And then we're going to do two more. You want to grab your wiki, so add all from wiki. And then the last one, if you signed up for the other one, you can grab the 2.0s. That's another service that GSA offers. I definitely recommend doing the 2.0s, but if not, just go ahead and grab your add all from video. And this should be a good list of what we need, and this is what I typically use in my safe GSA method. And so we want to save this footprint list, and so you just want to click up here and just select all of these. Control A didn't seem to work in there, so I'm just dragging it all the way to the top here. And you just want to copy this, and I'm going to open up a notepad file, as you can see here. And we're just going to paste this in. Go paste the URLs in that we got. And we just want to save this, and you want to save it something that you're going to recognize. I'll just put it on my desktop here, but I'll probably name it safe method footprints, just so you know which footprints you're scraping for. You can name it anything you want, obviously. Just make sure it's something you can recall the name for when you're going to be importing this back into Gscraper. You just hit save, and it's going to give you an error saying it's not recommended. Doesn't matter, just hit OK. And we'll hit close. And now we want to go back and do the same thing. And for these footprints, this is what we're going to do for the aggressive method. So for the aggressive method, you want to grab everything except for blog comment and exploit and video adult. Everything else you want to select add all from. So we're going to add all from article. We're going to add all from directory. Add all from documents sharing. We skip exploit and go to forum. Add all from forum. We're going to add all from guestbook. Whoops. Going to add all from image comment. Now, you want to make sure you're skipping blog comment, but image comment is okay. So I'm going to grab all from image comment. Indexer. Grab all the indexer. Microblog. We're going to grab all those again. And we're going to go to pingback, and we want the pingbacks. We go to refer. We're going to add all from refer. We're going to grab the social bookmark again, which is add all from social bookmark. Go to social network, and you're going to add all from social network. Go to trackback. I'm going to add all from trackback. Go to URL shortener. Add all from URL shortener. Go to video. Add all from video. And then you want to do wiki. Add all from wiki. And so basically out of that list, the ones I skip are blog comment, exploit. Exploit is one where they basically inject code into headers and things like that. I just don't go there typically for backlinking just because I just feel bad on that part for some of those website owners. And video adult, obviously, you might do this if you're running a campaign for, if you're in that industry. Obviously, mixing this list with the rest of your websites that you might be promoting would probably be a bad idea because you got bad neighborhoods crossing into each other there. So those are the three I typically skip. But for the aggressive method, everything else I use. So we want to do the same. We're going to grab all these. We're going to copy them. And just bear with me 1 minute while I grab all these. And we're just going to repeat what we did the last time. We're going to paste these into a notepad file. It's going kind of slow trying to get all these. Okay. So just hit copy. And we'll go and open up another notepad. We're going to paste those in. Now I'll scroll to the top, make sure there wasn't any spaces, which there was one space which I saw when I was copying it. So I'm going to save this, and I'm going to put in this one I just call all footprints. Bad spelling. And these are typically the ones I'll use to scrape for all of them. So you're just going to hit save, and this will go on the desktop as well. Let's go ahead and hit OK, and I'm just going to close this now. So we don't need to save any of these, so we're just going to cancel out of it, and we will close this settings tab, and we're going to click back over to our GScraper. Now in here you'll have a couple already in there. Just go ahead and hit clear. And we want to import, we'll start out doing the safe method footprints just to give an example. So we're going to go to import, we'll go to our desktop, and here's our safe method footprints. We're going to go ahead and hit open. Give it a minute, and then you'll see all these footprints pop in that we pulled over from GSA. So now basically the thing of it is this is where you can use like your DNA braiding, or basically as many general keywords as you can get means you're going to scrape a lot more footprint. So if you only put a few keywords in here, you're not going to have a very high scrape rate. The more keywords you put in here, the more targets you're going to be able to find. So I'm going to go ahead and import a list of keywords that I typically use. You can find some of these online if you do searches for it. People have predefined some of these lists that are pretty big that will help you acquire a lot of targets. Whether you want to use this to target a more relevant, if you're trying to get more relevant links, then you're going to want to put more of those relevant keywords in your list. Or if you're trying to build a general list, then my keyword list usually varies from all kinds of different niches. I'm usually going off of more how many targets can scrape on the web versus not find at all. So we're just going to import that real quick. You just click on import, and I named my file lots of keywords. It's just a notepad file, and you can just put as many words in there as you want, one per line, all the way down the page. And I'll just hit open, and that should dump these into the keyword here. Just give it a minute to catch up. So here you go. We have this list in here. This is a list that I've kind of built over what brings in the most targets. Obviously, it just depends on if you're building a general list or a more keyword specific list. I suggest for those that are starting, go for a more general list just to try and get more targets before you start moving into a more targeted niche, where you're trying to put in your DNA braids and stuff from what you're using on your silos into the keyword. You're going to just you're going to be able to pull in a lot more targets that way. And so that's basically it. We got this thing set up, and now we're just going to hit Start Scrape down here. And we'll just give it a minute, and you'll start seeing this total times more than 5,000. Do you want to don't show? I always hit no on this to help save memory. And this thing will just start propagating. As you can see, it already popped up 87 here. And down here, scraping threads 150. And this is going to tell you how many proxies you're getting from that 66 per month. You can see it start climbing. And we'll just let this run for a minute. I'm just going to pause the video while this gets a little more targets on here so I can show you the process that we go through filtering this list once we have it acquired. Okay, so we're back. I've been letting this run for a little bit over 5 minutes, as you can see down here. And up in the top left, if you can see this number, this is how many URLs that it's found. Obviously, when you're running your first scrape, I recommend running it for at least 2 to 3 days, just so you can get a good list to go through. I'm just keeping this short for example purposes. So I'm going to go ahead down here and hit Stop Scrape. Are you sure you need to stop the scraping? Yes. Okay. Now there's certain things that I do to make sure that you get a little bit higher quality in this. Most of these settings can be, like no follow and some of these other filters that it has in it can be handled within GSA, which we'll go over in some of the project settings. But for filtering out this list, the bare minimum I do is I go in and I'll start remove duplicate domain. It shouldn't have any duplicate domains in here just because of the one button that the drop down here, it says remove duplicate domain at scraping. We had set that so it won't return any more than one domain per find. And so you shouldn't have that problem, but just for example purposes, if you forgot to push that, this is what I would do. Go and remove duplicate domain, and you just click do. And it'll say duplicate domain has been removed. That went really fast, obviously, because there was none in here, because we had the settings correctly. Now, the next thing you want to do is I check Google PageRank. And I want to select it at a domain level, not a URL level. You can do a URL level, but typically I just want to see the domain level as a whole, because as long as the domain has some PR attached to it, it should have some domain authority attached to it. So that's what I'm primarily trying to scrub out when I'm doing this. So then you just go over here and hit do, and we're just going to hit all, and this might take a little bit of time to run. You can see the blue bar running across here. So I'll just pause this while it finishes up. Okay, now this just got done checking the page rank. As you scroll through this list, you can see under this column here, you got a lot of negative ones and zeros. There's a 2 and a 4. So it's come across a few good ones if you go down this list some. From my experience, sites that have been penalized or not have performed very well in the SERPs will either have -1 typically indicates that it's a new site. Zeros can signify a penalty, so I'm usually just going to gut anything that's under a PR1. So you want to click over here to filter, and you just want to click that check mark here. You can see there's a lot of different things you can do if you want to filter it for more things you want to scrape for, but this is what I usually do. I just click on if PR is under, and then I just set this to 1. You just make sure that that's a 1, and then we just want to hit do, and there we go. Deleting URL if it's under 1, and now if you look through the list, you're not going to see any that are under PR1. And so we got a few good domains in there. Right here is a PR8 from Scribed. That's one of the document sharing sites. And typically by doing this, you can pretty much guarantee that they're indexed. So there's not really any need to run an index check if you're checking the root domain in that sense. And so from here, we just want to export the list. So you want to click down and hit List Export. And I just do only URLs. And let's just say I call this gooder list. I've already put one in there as an example, but I'm just walking you through the process here. So hit save, and 733 URLs have been exported. So now we have that many targets that we're able to import into GSA when we start up our campaign. And this is mainly all you need to do as far as like Gscraper and running and harvesting your links. Obviously, depending on if you're doing a safe method of GSA or an aggressive one where we did all footprints, that's going to dictate, what you're going to put in here for your footprint. So just keep that in mind that if you only do your footprints for the safe method, you're only ending up with, 3 types of links in that list, where if you're going to run the aggressive method in the project settings in GSA, you would need to make sure that, you would be missing a lot of the other footprints that's used to link to. So just be aware of that when you're scraping, and I will see you in the next video. Welcome back, everyone, to the next video in our GSA training series. Okay, in this, I'm just going to go over byproxies.org just a little bit. Over here in this tab, I'm not going to click to it because I don't want to give away my proxies or have anybody copy them, but you can come in here and click my proxies, and it'll say show a list of my proxies, and you want to copy those as we go into this video. One thing you want to make sure that you're doing is you have to click on the IP authentication tab in by proxies, and you want to put in the IP of your server, and that's going to make it so you can use the IPs to that specific IP address. So if you're using it, you want to make sure that you're you can put it on 2 different computers. So I usually will put it on my server, and then if I'm using content machine 3 or something, I'll also put in my private IP address here, and you just want to hit update IPs, and that will make sure that you can use the proxies that you got through them without any troubles on your server. So go ahead and do that step next if you haven't already done so. I'm going to pause the video while we jump back over to the server so we can get going with the content machine. Okay, and welcome back. Sorry I lied, we're not going to jump into content machine just yet. I figured we probably should get you guys up and knowing how to configure your proxies. And so hopefully you copied the proxies that you got from byproxies.org or whichever service you used, and I just went ahead and pasted them in on a notepad and put them on my desktop. That should be pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I need to walk you through how to do that. But to get your proxies going, we're going to want to come into here. So let me back up so you guys are seeing this. Under the submission portion, you want to click on use proxies, and you're going to hit configure, and we need to add our proxies, and so you just go ahead and hit add proxy, and you're going to import from file. Now by proxies is usually your it's your IP, your port, your user, and then your password. And so from that, you would want to select this one, the 4th option down. It depends on where you're getting your proxies from. They could be sending to you in different configuration files, or so just pay attention. You'll recognize the host would be the IP that they give you, and port is just a 2-digit number. So you should be able to distinguish what your login and password is from that. So I'm just going to import from clipboard, and it just pasted it in. And now we just need to test this. Now to test the proxies and make sure that everything's going okay, I just want to jump over here to options, and for threads you can crank this up pretty high. I always uncheck the automatically disable public proxies because we don't use private or public proxies, so there's no need in keeping that checked. And we just want to set this as high as you want to put it. I'll usually set it 200 if I have 100 proxies, so it can do two at a time every 5 seconds. And so I'll just hit list again, and you go in and you'll hit test proxies. You want to go to all, and I do it against anonymous test URL, and you can see it's running through the test and seeing if all these are working. And we'll see here in just a moment. Just given the last few threads are waiting to finish, you can see over here it says 14, so that's how many we're waiting on. And down here you can see the checked and unchecked. The green means they're working good, unchecked means not so much. So we're just waiting for this to finish up. And there you go. I have 190 out of 200 successful. Obviously, I recommend you guys get 100. You're welcome to do more if you want, or less, however you want to do it. Obviously, the more you have, the more it can run, but there's a certain limit where you're going to max out on your RAM, and so that's why I just recommend doing 100. You're welcome to get more, or I wouldn't go below 50 if you want to have some good results with it. So then you can just hit OK, and you have your proxies in there. And we'll go over some of these other configuration options in the general settings video that we'll be getting into here in a moment. But before we go into that, we're going to jump into Content Machine 3 because we need to get our content that we're going to use to give to GSA so it can go out and post those links. And so I hope this helped you figure out how to import your proxies, make sure they're working. I usually always do this check before I start new projects to make sure everything's going good with that, as you don't want the proxies to fail and then it's running off of your server's IP or something. It's a good way to get your hosting company, your server company, mad at you. So just always be sure to check the configuration on that, make sure they're working good before you start up new projects. I've always found when I do that, I'm not missing any steps. So I will see you in the next video. Welcome back, everyone, and in this video we're going to go over Content Machine 3, and this is a tool that's used to build the content that we're going to give GSA so it can have some content to work with when it's going out and posting to article directories or any other type of link platform that might need content. One thing to note is I don't go after super readable content. I found that more unique content makes the difference when you're using GSA. And it's also true, one of the Panda updates had come out, and it does target if you have poorly spun content on like your tier 1 links, for instance, that go back to your money site. If they're too similar, you can get hit by a Panda just from that. So it's something to kind of be careful of. So that's why I always go for most uniqueness. Obviously, the type of sites that we target, you're not typically going to have to worry about that kind of thing. But I just want to throw that out there that I'm not looking for quality. Although this tool does have the ability to build quality content, but we won't be going into that section or learning that method in this video. So in here, I went ahead and opened this up. Hopefully you guys have installed this. This is pretty straightforward when you picked it up. So it's just a straight install, and you'll input your username and password. I've already done that. So in here, we just want to hit new, and it's going to ask you what kind of files you want to use for your scrape. So it's asking you where the content source is coming from. So you can also put in, the higher quality stuff. You can also write your own and put those in yourself and then specify where there's at. But for the GSA method, we're just going to go with the built-in article scraper. And then you want to click over to the scraper settings tab, and I've already input my proxies over here. And so once you paste in your list of proxies from the buyproxies.org, you just want to hit test, make sure this box is checked here. And we're just going to check and make sure those proxies are still good, which they should since we just checked them in the last video. But it doesn't hurt to always check before you start doing a lot of scraping on the web, as we don't want to get IPs banned. And on this one, I have 67 working proxies, so I'm just going to hit OK on that. You don't really have to change the threads or the timeout or anything like that. I usually just keep that at 30 and 3000 milliseconds. and then you'll go ahead and hit apply. And over here you want to put in your campaign name. I usually name it, whatever I'm going to be doing first, and so typically if you're running multiple campaigns, I usually do 5 articles per campaign, and that campaign would consist of one URL. And so in this I would probably put, like, for instance, let's just do Internet Marketing 1, and that'll tell me that my keyword is revolving around internet marketing, and this is going to be the first batch. Main keyword, you can go very local targeted if you want. For instance, if you're doing a city or something, internet marketing for Salt Lake City or wherever you're based out of. Typically though, for your main keyword you want to put a pretty broad keyword so it can go out and find more content that it can pull from. Then of course you can get more specific if you want to go after your city ones in the second and third keyword, but for this example I'm just going to keep internet marketing as the main keyword. Now down here under content quality, you can come down here, and I always use tier 2 if I have the best spinner. If I don't have the best spinner that I recommended that you pick up, then you can just go ahead and go with tier 3. So I'm going to click on tier 2, and obviously you can use Content Machine as its own spinner. So if you didn't pick up the best spinner, you would select the Content Machine spinner, and this would be tier 3. But for this instance it's going to be the best spinner, and then you'd want to go ahead and put in your credentials over here and hit save. And protect keywords I just leave off. You'll see why as we go through into the GSA settings. Images and videos, I always try to be as non-consistent as I can, so I always pick random, image, video, or none. And then you just want to go ahead and hit next. Now in here I always activate the image links, and we need to put in URLs and keywords. And this is very simple to do with the way that we're going to output the file. So when we come into here, I'll just throw in google.com, and let's just say Google is the keyword. I usually put this down to usually 80-20, so or 90-10, so 80% will be followed links and 10 to 20% would be no follow links. You can also, if you want to add in branded type links, you can go ahead and put those in here if you're just wanting to do more of a branded anchors. But again, these will get replaced by the way we output the file, but just so you know what these kind of do. So I'll just click that back to no, and then we'll hit OK. And we've got to put in a URL into this too, so I'll just put in google.com, hit OK, and there you go. So now you can see I've got one, sorry, didn't mean to click that. You got one URL and one keyword and then one image link, and you just want to come down here and hit build and export. Now in here under template, this is the main part you want to look for. You just want to click GSA Search Engine Ranker Pre-Made, and then we're going to click on Change GSA Settings. Now in here, we want the projects in GSA to dictate what the URL and anchor text is and not rely on the content that we build. So you want to make sure these are placeholders basically, so whatever URL we put in there, for example it was google.com, this will just put this placeholder in its place, and so when we set up the GSA settings, it'll put in the URL that we have assigned for the project. And so that's why I didn't really worry about the URL and anchor text that we were using. The other thing I click is I don't usually put links in About Me. You can uncheck this if you want. These are just my settings. You're welcome to uncheck that if you want. And you just hit apply, and then down here it's going to ask how many articles would you like to create. I'll sometimes run this in big batches, so for instance if I know I'm going to do 5 URL or 5 projects in GSA, I need 5 articles for each URL, so that would be 25 articles. But for example, I'm just going to show one URL, so I'm just going to click 5 because that will handle that one URL that we're doing in the example. and then you just want to go ahead and hit export, and it's going to ask you where you want to save this. And so let's just save this in a new folder here. We're going to call this SEO2, and double click on that. Whoops. And go back. I'm just going to come into here and put Internet Marketing 1. And so that lines up with, I know that this would be the first batch that I created for the campaigns in GSA. Again, whatever you want to name it's fine. Just try to keep yourself organized, because the more projects you get, the more difficult it is to maintain order. So I'll just go ahead and hit save, and now this is going out and scraping the web, and it's going to pull back. It found 1,674 sources that contain internet marketing, and it's just going to run through the steps here. I'm just going to let the video run in this instance, just because it can't hurt. You'll see it pulled back 479 images, and it also found 240 videos. And just bear with me in the silence here. Sometimes this can take a little bit of time, but I figure, you know, it's worth seeing this process. So I don't know if you can see through the bar here, but it says it's downloading the content that it found from the scraping. And now it prepared the content, and now it's spinning with the best spinner. This is this next step. So it's taking all that content it found and it's spinning it. So we're going to get that high uniqueness level of, you know, what I like to see when I'm using GSA to post links to. So we'll just give this a moment more. And for this part, I'll just pause it for the rest, because this part can take a little bit of time. So now you can see that this was all done. It finished the project. It says all articles in the campaign are saved. You just hit OK. And if we open this up, you'll be able to see that here we have our 5 articles that we created. And so we're going to take this and we're going to start getting a campaign set up in GSA next. Finally, I know this is the part most people have been waiting for. So I will see you soon in that next video. Hello everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be covering the capture breaker settings in this video. And a few things before we go into the options and the settings for it. I want you guys to kind of take a look at this. So sometimes when you see this, you have the X checked, and then you have some that are white, and then some that are gray. The gray just means that not all of them are checked. And for capture breaker, you want to make sure that everything's checked on this. So no matter which link building platforms you're choosing as you're setting up your campaign, that the capture breaker will be able to solve. You don't want to pick a link building platform in your project and then you don't have that selected in your capture breaker, because you're not going to have success on your links. So you always want to make sure that all these are checked all the time. Just for instance, so you can see this directory 1 is grayed out, even though it has the X on it. If you open this up, you'll see that some of these are not all the way filled out. So this one's a grayed out X. So if you look down here, then this one is missing. So this is one where you'd want to make sure it's checked. And so to just quickly do this, when you're looking at all of them, you just want to make sure that these are all turned to white, and that you're selecting all of them, so you're not missing any captchas in case you do happen to choose them using GSA. So just something to glance over before we get into the settings. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on options, and I always uncheck the run as web server, because you should have this on a server. These are settings where you may want to use it if you're putting it onto a personal machine, but I hope you do not do that. So you want to go ahead and deselect this, and you don't need to click any of the simulate the following CAPTCHA services. CAPTCHA Breaker actually functions a lot like dCAPTCHA and Death by CAPTCHA, so selecting other services, if you were to use this, is not really going to do much better than what CAPTCHA does on its own. So go ahead and unselect that, and you want to come down to here. This portion right here, if you happen to go and buy a secondary CAPTCHA service, I recommend the Spam Villa. You can go there and see their CAPTCHA, their dCAPTCHA OCR that's in their tab there. If you want to use a secondary, I would recommend them. They're the ones I've had the most success with as a secondary. But in here, you would then select whichever secondary service you get, and then the login and password that they provide for you. So that's if you want to do a secondary CAPTCHA setup. And then these settings would still be, you can adjust these to only do a success rate if it's had a certain amount of success before. So, but for this setup, we're only doing the one CAPTCHA service because I find that CAPTCHA Breaker, you should be solving at about 70%. If you're not, then you need to go in and look at some of your settings and see if you've set something up wrong going over the project. And then everything else on here, just leave empty. You know, use CAPTCHA service, and everything basically is blank. So you can also set, if on your secondary, you can set how many 1,000 CAPTCHAs will cost you if you want to see how it runs. Down here, you can see that there's a price associated. I'll just go ahead and hit OK on this. As this is running through, you'll see the CAPTCHAs pop up, and then this is the GSA. But if you have a secondary, you'll see another section over here that is similar to this, and it'll tally up the total for you of how many you're running through and how much it's going to cost you. So really, that's the settings on CAPTCHA Breaker, and I always just leave this up just so I can make sure that these are scrolling through. And I just like to keep an eye on the recognized. Again, I like to see at least 70% down here. Sometimes it might dip a little bit into 64%, but typically that's the range I see it in when everything's running smoothly. And again, you always want to make sure this is up to date. This is a lot like GSA, where if there is an update available, you'll see an update available green window down here in this corner. You always want to make sure you're updating, and then after you update, make sure you got white X's across the board. So with that, that covers the settings we need for CAPTCHA Breaker, and we'll go into setting up the global settings on GSA next. Hello everyone, and welcome back. In this video series, we're going to cover how to set up your global options for GSA search engine ranker. And so for this, these are general options that basically will cover most of the other projects, individual project settings. Some dictate overall, and some you can overwrite within the project itself. But we'll just call this the global project settings for now. So you want to go ahead and open up your options for GSA. Now, threads to use, this might sound a little nuts for some, but you want to crank this. I typically, if I have a big enough server, I actually start this out at 1,000 threads, even though you probably only purchased the 100. And then you'll probably get memory errors because you're going too fast and burning up too much memory for what your server can handle. And so as that happens, I just start scaling it down. So just start dropping it by 100 until you find that sweet spot on your server for how many you can actually do. Since this is a smaller server that I'm working with, I'm actually only going to set this probably to 500 for right now, because, and of course it says not really recommend to use more than 100 threads. You're like, yeah, we know. So the next one is your HTML timeout. Now this is how long it takes for when GSA goes out to hit another URL to post a link to. This is the response time of what that URL gives you. And so for me, a lot of people recommend kicking this up. In my mind, if another server that I'm going to post a link on takes longer than 30 seconds to respond, I probably don't want to link from there anyway. And I don't want GSA sitting around waiting to post the link there when it could do, 20 others in the same amount of time. And so I typically keep the HTML timeout between 30 and 40 seconds. And I just leave I don't mess around with the bandwidth or anything like that. You should have an unmetered, hopefully. So I want to make sure your proxies are there. Make sure that these are still in there. And they are from an earlier video that we did. I'm just going to hit OK. Oh, sorry about that. We'll go back. And now on this one, we want to make sure you want to click search engines and you want to uncheck the public. The reason why is I don't use any public proxies because they're just unreliable. They fail a lot. It's a lot of upkeep of putting in new public proxies. So I just stick with the private, and it does just fine. This is saying it should wait at least 60 seconds between two search engines. I don't worry about that. I usually will crank that to 30. 25 to 30 seconds is what I normally put in here. As you can see, I'm kind of going against what GSA recommends. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and this is the method I found that will let you output the most amount of links in the shortest amount of time. So don't let these warnings and stuff that you're getting scare you. So now the other one we want to check is submission, and we want to again uncheck public, make sure private is checked, and you want to hit skip for identification. We don't need to identify whether the proxy is public or private because we're only using private proxies, so you make sure that's checked. We do want to use the proxies to go out and verify. Again, uncheck the public proxy box. And we want to do email checking. We want it to go out and utilize the proxies to log into our emails and verify the accounts that it registers for the different platforms that it's posting to. So you'll go ahead and uncheck that. And that'll cover your submission section on for GSA. We're going to just head on down to CAPTCHA now, and you'll see that there's no CAPTCHAs in here. There's no services. You can see there's no lines in here. So what we want to do is we want to come up here and we want to hit add, and GSA CAPTCHA breaker recommended as first service. We want to hit OK. Just select that, and these are the settings that you're going to get. I always leave the retry at 0. The reason being is for the same reason as the timeout on the server. If it can't do it in the first try, I know GSA can come along and have success with the next 20 behind it. So I'm trying to force as much link juice through this thing as I can, and I don't want it sitting around wasting time just trying to get that one itty bitty spam link that it can try and get, because it's not effective. It's not time efficient. So you leave the retries at 0. This is important to uncheck. It says finally ask user if everything else fails. You want to make sure that's unchecked. Otherwise, as you're running GSA, you're going to get a lot of pop-ups asking you to solve the CAPTCHAs, and I'm not sure how many of us want to sit around the machine all day filling out CAPTCHAs. So those are the settings for the CAPTCHA portion. We'll just go over to indexing. Now, I don't use indexing at all. The reason being is it's just I feel it's like even more unnatural than GSA already is. I prefer Google to come along and find those links naturally. So there's been times where I'll pump out 200,000 links in a week, and 6 months later link aggregators and everybody else are still picking them up. And so even though it's a super spike within that week, you're still going to see link growth over that whole course that you ran that campaign for. So we want to make sure we uncheck this. We don't want to select any of this. Uncheck all this junk. I actually even come in here and uncheck the interior as well because I don't want it doing any of this. So I'll just come through and uncheck everything. There's times where even though you uncheck this box up here, it still slows it down because it still tries to pull from these. It's just a error I've seen from time to time. Not saying you have to be as redundant as me, but I just want to make sure it's doing what I tell it to do. And so then I'll finally uncheck that. So we have no services checked in here. We have nothing checked here, and we have nothing checked here. I would say if you are interested in doing indexing, that you find a service that you can kind of drip feed out the links over time, and so it might be a more natural growth in that case. But I've always had success using this where it's just no indexing and it picks up what it wants to pick up. So that'll be the settings for your indexing. So now we'll head down to filter. Filter's kind of the same thing for me. I don't want it to spend time going through and as you do your link checks and stuff, this is a choice that actually all of you would have to make, because it's an instance where this is going to check for malware type sites, and if you don't have other methods of checking that, you might want to let this run through so it's not going to be posting to these malware related lists. But for me, I just let it be what it's going to be, because typically we're sending these to high domain authority sites. As long as you're doing that, you're not going to have issues of, you shouldn't be pulling back lists that are 70% malware if you're doing your scraping right. So if you are getting that much back that's malware, you need to look at your scraper settings a little more closely. Make sure you're going through those filter processes we went through in the last video. So I just go in here again. This is the same kind of thing as the indexing, and make sure everything's checked off, because sometimes it'll still try to do it even though it's not checked up here. So, and then the other thing you want to check is maximum size of website to download. I always put this to 4 megabyte. You might be between 4 and 6, somewhere in there. I've just found that I can get a better success rate when it's a little bit higher download size from the websites you're posting to. You might find a different number works for you, but typically between 4 and 6 works pretty good for me. So now we'll head down to the advanced, and these are interesting boxes. So as GSA goes out and builds your links, it's going to save those different links in these different locations on your server. And for me, I never want to keep the submitted or the failed, because the submitted are either going to end up in the verified or they're going to end up in the failed. And so I don't bother having GSA save those. But I do want to save the identified and verified. Something that it may not have identified this time around doesn't mean that it wouldn't later on in the future. And so I just try to save both of those lists as time goes on. Now down here, I always uncheck get PR for verified URLs. We do that using Gscraper. We know that what the PR is for at least the total domain. You can also use Gscraper to go in and check those individual URLs if you so wish. Again, anything that we can do with other tools, I don't want GSA wasting its time doing. And of course I want to enable important messages. This will be the case where as you're running the project, you might get a little, it's like a little red triangle with an exclamation mark in it. That'll be to the left of your project if there's an error. More times than not, you're going to find that it's just saying, oh, it couldn't log into the email, or it's going to pop up and it's going to be related to, it could be your out of memory, in which case you'd go back to the submission tab and you would adjust your threads down to compensate for that. Or it's going to be simply that it ran out of target URLs to post to, since we won't be using GSA to scrape with. And always, in case detect internet connection problems and stop restart projects. You don't want your server to like reset and then it just stops and doesn't ever try to pick up the project where it left off. There's been times I walk away from setting up a project for weeks and I would not be happy if I came back to my computer and it was not running just because it had an internet problem. So these are settings in a nutshell that you want to keep for your global settings, and we're going to get up into setting up a project next, and I will see you in the next video. Hello everyone and welcome back. We are now finally going to set up a project in GSA, and so what you want to do is you want to come over here and you want to hit new, because obviously you won't have any in there, and where to submit is probably the first thing we needed to go over. Where I like to submit is, I'm going to show you what my safe settings are real quick, and so you're going to uncheck the blog comment, and you're going to uncheck indexer, and uncheck trackback. And for my safe settings, I would use article, microblog, social bookmark, social network. You can do video or not do video, depends on if you have your own videos that you want to promote. I'll just leave that unchecked for now. Web 2.0 and wikis. So those are the ones that I typically stick to for a safe setting, and you're probably wondering, well, why would we be doing that? Typically a lot of these, especially like the social bookmarks and things like that, are already on high domain authority sites. So you're not really, basically if we're sending these to a high domain authority site, then we would be sending these links in conjunction, which are also high domain authority. So it's going to give you kind of a little cushion as far as like not so much spammy of the spammiest links, if that makes sense. And also, if you wanted to, once this project got done running, then you could do a second project to all the URLs you would gather from this project and hammer that with as much spam as you would want for these individual targets that we would build from this project. So that would be the safe settings, but really what I want to show you is how to do the aggressive, and this is what I mostly use. But typically if you're going with a lower domain authority site, we're talking 80 and below, you want to just use these settings because it's going to be the safest path for you. But anything 80 and above, and especially all the hundreds, you can use the aggressive method just fine and you won't have any problems. So for the aggressive method, we're going to check directory, document sharing, we skip exploit. I do use forums in that. I'm going to check guestbook. Image comments are okay because they typically just come back, it's an image that can be NA. So there's not really any anchor text kind of thing going on in there. I would use the indexer. You do pingbacks, refer, RSS, trackback, URL shortener, and then of course you can do video or not video, whichever one you prefer. And I'll just throw in a video in there since we scraped for them using Content Machine. Yeah, might as well spread the link juice around, even though if it's not our own video, right? So these are typically the properties I'll select when I'm doing an aggressive campaign. Now over here, this is where you're going to enter in your URL for where you're going to send the links to. In this you'd hit edit, and you can hit add URL for your first one. I'll go in and change this later, but just for example purposes, we're just going to put in google.com. Hit OK. And the keywords, if you remember from my scraping, I was doing internet marketing. So with that, you have to put in at least one keyword for. There's just some settings on here that you have to put it in, even though you're not going to be scraping. So a lot of these settings here, like collect keywords from target sites and use collected keywords to find new target sites, that's all related to if you're going to use GSA for scraping. But we don't do that. We use it for posting. But nonetheless, we do have to put at least one keyword in here, and so I usually will just put the broadest, most general one I can think of. So we'll just put internet marketing again as the broad one, and then we keep all these unchecked. One thing that you can use, now your anchor text, I typically don't go more than 3 anchor texts per project to one URL. And the reason being, I've just found you get a whole lot more bang for your buck if you're just squeezing that link juice into a certain amount of anchor text. And I'll kind of explain my methodology behind that in a second, but we'll just enter in something here. Let's say I wanted to rank for internet marketing services Salt Lake City, for instance. Okay, so that's the main keyword that we want to rank for that's going to be in here. And this is just a general one up here that the GSA just needs at least one keyword in there really to function. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. I've never really understood why you can't just leave it blank. So within here, you want to just make sure all these are unchecked. Again, this is my aggressive method, and you're saying, oh, what are you doing? You're going to make all your anchor text exact match keyword? Yes. So let me explain my methodology behind this. And actually, when you run this, at least with the link targets that I've acquired over time, is I found that you're really only pulling, you're only able to get that anchor text within certain properties, which you can get them in wikis and the Web 2.0 and the articles. Sometimes the forum, and sometimes the image comment. The rest of these, if you look at them, they're more URL based. So like for instance, a social bookmark is only going to bookmark the title of wherever your link is, so it's not even going to be this keyword exactly. Same with social network, it might just be a URL that it posts a link to. Same goes with RSS, it could be a URL link. Same with a trackback, it's going to be a URL link. Same with URL shortener, it's going to be a URL link. And so, while yes, this is 100% with what we're setting this up for, you'll find that as you run the course with all these combinations, your keyword anchor is going to be very small compared to, just being 100% exact match. So just keep that in mind. I know this is crazy. Again, I am teaching you the method that I know works today. And it's still going strong. I haven't had videos drop. I haven't had videos get banned. Been able to rank Facebook pages, LinkedIn pages, no problem using this method. So that's what you want to set up your basic settings for. Again, you can add in 2 or 3 more exact match if you want. But I found the best results are going to be one keyword to one URL. If you want to get more URLs in there but the same keyword, I'd recommend just keeping one keyword and not going more than 3 to 5 URLs if you're targeting all the same keyword. But don't mix in extra keywords, because then the overall percentage that you get is going to get diluted down and you won't be able to push the properties as high in Google as you're trying to do. And again, this depends on your target of what you're targeting, but we'll kind of go over that in another video just to make sure people are staying safe and they know how they're using this. So now in here you're going to see that we have content in here, but we need to import the content that we created. So I'm just going to briefly click over to Article Manager. As you see in here, we don't have any articles that we've loaded in here. If you've hand spun them, you can go and edit them manually, but because we taught you Content Machine, we're going to show you why we use Content Machine. So you just want to go to Tools, you want to click on Autofill, you're going to go down to Use Content Machine and Import. And in here, we are going to go to Desktop, and here's where we made those articles that we did from Content Machine 3 earlier. You just select them all. Again, I do 5 articles per URL. So if I had 3 URLs in there, then I'd want 15 articles. But as you can see in this example, I only put in google.com, which is 1 URL. And as you can see, these are 5 spun content articles. So We're just going to hit open, and it's going to say, it's asking which fields you want to choose. Now, the only two you want to unselect is keywords and anchor text, because we don't want to overwrite what we just put in those two top boxes. Other than that, you can just hit OK and just give it a minute here, and there you go. It's input all the content from the articles that we have. You can kind of see, you'll see this little symbol here. You'll know that that worked. You're not using like default content or anything like that. There's one thing you do want to change, and that's your category. This typically doesn't update, and so you want to theme your category for more what you're using it for. So for instance, what my ultimate target is going to be is internet marketing, so I'd probably just pick that as a category. You want something related, so these are getting posted to links that offer those category selections to the most relevant area that you can submit to. Helps with your theming between the sites. So now we got our articles. We'll just click on here on over to Article Manager. You can see here's the 5 articles now showing up that we just uploaded, and we're going to change a few of these settings down here. So what I typically do is, if you remember in Content Machine we used a random video, image, or none, and so that was kind of a random spin within these articles that we did, but then we're going to make them a little more unique just so they keep being even more random. So random URLs for random words. In our instance we only have 1 and 1, so it really doesn't matter. So actually we'll just hit 0 through 1. And I just do this so sometimes it's a link and sometimes it's not. I mean, if you want to make sure you're doing one keyword to one URL, just set this to 1. But these are what I normally do just because it mixes it up a little bit. So now in here, same kind of thing. Do 0 to 1 and 0 to 1. And that way, like, for instance, let's say it's going to insert a link. It's going to sentence at the bottom. It's going to insert this link in there, and let's say it's an image. Well, in that spin, it could say 1, and let's say this by the randomness select 0, so you wouldn't get a link in that section, for instance. But it just makes it so everything's a lot more randomized than the tokens that it has in there being exactly the same through each spin that it does. I just like to try and break it up and not make anything be too obvious, and so for me it's okay to skip and do some off and on. Over here I just hit insert just one, so it'll at least do either one video or one image, and that way setting it to 0 and 1 within this will also be, it's either going to be or an image or it's going to be a video, and then it deals with the content tokens within the spun article what we set it to in Content Machine. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, just you can select these settings and you'll be just fine. It says down here, I always uncheck this, says do not submit same article more than one time. Now the reason being is, and you can see it per account is what it was saying there. Now the reason being is, we'll go over this in the email verification section here in a minute, but so I'll discuss that here in a minute once we get over to that tab. So now you want to go over to options, and options is now, it's going to give you a few more things that you can modify down even on the project level, and some of these are similar to what you do on the global settings but at a more refined level. And so this is asking all services / user to fill CAPTCHAs. If you remember, that was the CAPTCHA setting that we did in the global settings. So now this one would overwrite what the global one would say, because it's saying ask user. Again, none of us want to be sitting around our computer all day filling out CAPTCHAs. So you want to just hit choose random. So if it can't figure out the CAPTCHA, it's just going to take a guess. And for me, a guess is better than not trying at all or sending it to me for me to fill it in. And again, I select skip hard to check CAPTCHAs on this section, and simply because same kind of thing, I'm looking for efficiency. I don't want CAPTCHA breakers sitting around trying to solve one CAPTCHA for a half hour while I just could have submitted 3,000 links just by skipping it. So, just think of this. GSA is what it is. It's a spam tool. Um, how much quality are you going to get out of it? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Um, so, so those are those settings. I don't do a custom mode. Um, Verified URLs have to have exact URL. I always when to verify just automatically. I don't set any specific things in there. I don't re-verify existing backlinks, and I'll show you that when we kind of go and do that manually anyway. So down here, send verified links to indexer services. If you remember in our global settings, we turned all that off. And so again, you know why I don't do it, so we're just going to uncheck this stuff because I want Google to find that naturally. And down here, for tags, use anchor text. I always want to just make sure it gets some kind of anchor text to use. If you want to be the keywords where the tags are more general based too, you could put a few more in there if you want. It's up to you. But I typically just select anchor text. Now we'll just scroll down the page a little bit. Now this section here is if you wanted to use GSA to go and scrape. For me, I don't want this to be scraping because that's why we bought GScraper. So I come into here and I select check none. So that turns off every engine in this list that it would use to go out and find links to. I just don't want it going out and wasting time when we're going to be providing the links it needs. This option here, if it was finding new targets, if you did use it to scrape, it's saying add stop keywords with query. So for instance, it could say like a stop keyword would be like check out internet marketing at URL, stuff like that. Like it's like random words that get mixed with your keywords, and that's what the stop words mean, just so you guys know. But because we're not using scraping, I uncheck it and use URL linking on the same verified URL supported by some engines only. So this is if you want it to go and find other URLs that are related to the keyword that you might want GSA to find. That could be a potential link again. I don't want it wasting its time finding those targets because we've already done so. So I just uncheck this. Now this one is an interesting one. So go ahead and click uncheck identified, because the only time when you do use this is if you already had verified links. Because we went over the settings of just doing the first scrape, we are not going to use this time around, but I will show you how you might set this up in another project so you don't have to keep importing the links. But for now, just uncheck that. And we're going to scroll down again. This says allow posting on same site again. I never post on the same site again. You're more than welcome to if you did. You'd want to come down and check, make sure maximum posts per account would be 1 and maximum accounts per site would be 1. Everything else you could leave the same, but just leave it off for now. Again, I'm just showing you what settings I use. It's not gospel, but you're free to make your own decisions, I guess I should say. So I'm just going to go in here and make sure some of these are checked. So in here, skip sites with more than 100 outgoing links. I typically find 100. Beyond that, you're losing a lot of link juice if you're getting any link juice at all. Hopefully you've taken the domain authority stacking course. You're kind of going to understand what juice really is pushing through the domains and not really be looking at it from a PR perspective, but at a certain point you're just getting a real diminishing return if it's going over 100. Some people like to put that all the way down to 50 even, but I feel that you're limiting your amount of links you can get by narrowing that, how many outgoing links are on a page. So with that, I typically will uncheck avoid posting sites with just IP and no domain. Anywhere we can get a link is good with me. Skip sites where the following words appear. This is up to you. This is a lot like the malware section that we covered a little bit ago. You can click this and make sure that it's skipping stuff with some of these not so kind neighborhoods on it. Again, if you're using it just for high domain authority sites, you'll be fine. You shouldn't be coming back with too many of these as is. And you can also add in more down here, custom word filters that you might want to add in, and you just check that and add in your list here. But that's a personal choice. You guys will have to make it. For me, I just leave them off because it's just going to eat up RAM and system resources that GSA can be using to post with. So with that, we're just going to jump over to email verification, and on here I'm just going to delete this real quick. So we don't have any in here, and let me stop this video and we'll pick up right out this section of the next video. I'm just going to show you guys a resource you can use to get your email verification. Figure it'll help a lot of you out with getting your GSA stuff going. So I'll see you in the next video. Hello everyone and welcome back. I figured it might be good for you guys. I'm going to give you this is the Fiverr gig that I use to get my email accounts I use to put into GSA. She does a really good job. Most of them I've found don't burn out very quickly. Usually if they do, it takes a lot longer than anything else I've found. You can also utilize some of the other stuff that you can use Account Creator or Wizmail and some of those other ones that GSA recommends, and I'll show you that in the sidebar when we jump back in. But I will supply this link for you so you have the person I get my email accounts from, and it just makes a world of difference. It's $5 and you get 350 of them, and it can last you a long time. So I just wanted to throw that out there before we get too far into the email setup in the GSA settings for the project. So just want to throw that out there, and I will provide that link for you. So next video we will finish up running our GSA settings and get the project rolling. I will see you then. Okay, and we're back again. Now that I showed you where we're going to get emails from, this is going to make this process a little bit easier. I didn't quite think about this when we were putting the list together in the syllabus, but nonetheless, benefit for you guys, I guess. You can also come into here. You can see Wizmail and Account Creator, like I mentioned in the last video. You can also buy some accounts that they'll provide. You're welcome to use any of those three to get them. I know there's other places you can go and acquire them on the web if you want to do searches for them. But anyways, I've just found that Fiverr gig is plenty for what we need. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some emails here to this project. You're going to hit add, and I always import from file. So whenever they give you, at least for the Fiverr gig and some of these others, just take what they give you and paste into a text file. And I usually only import one, but for this example I think I put 5 or 6 in just so we could walk through the process. So import from file, go back over my desktop here, and I'm going to hit single email and hit open. And I put 6 in there, so don't shoot me, but I'm just going to kind of walk you through this process. But we only want to end up with 1 in the end, and so this is a list. This is a chunk of the list that I got from that Fiverr gig. So I'm just going to hit test, and you want to hit all. And what this is going to do is going to run out and see if it can log in these emails. You can see they're turning green, so more than likely all of them are good. It says all successful, so you know that all these emails work. Now we only need one email, and so let me select these for a moment and delete out the ones that we don't need. So delete selected, and that'll leave us with one good one. Now, the reason why we only do one email account is, for one, it speeds up the account creation because, if GSA only has one account to create per domain or per IP, it's going to be able to go through that account creation process way faster. And the second reason is because it's only doing one email and therefore making one account on each domain, you're going to end up with a wider variety of IP diversity in your backlink profile that you're sending to the high domain authority sites. For example, let's say that Weebly was one of the ones in the 2.0 that I was going to create accounts for that we're going to send links to, say, YouTube video. If I had 5 emails in here, and if we went back over to here, if you remember this setting in the article manager, and says do not submit more than one article per times per account, then you would essentially, jumping back over, would end up with 5 basically different profiles on Weebly that would then all point back to your money site, even though you only specified one per account. Well, there's not really any point in sending the same links from the same domain over to one money site. Not a money, no money site. High domain authority site, whatever you're trying to pump GSA to. Do not send GSA to your money site. So that's the methodology behind what I'm thinking there. So it works really well. You do run into an instance where these emails can burn quickly, but typically I found that you can usually run GSA for an entire project pretty well, depending on your amount of URLs you're sending through, pretty easily without any problems. Now the settings in here, you can always do a blacklist check. In fact, we'll just run that just to make sure we didn't get a bum email from some blacklist somewhere. I've never seen them come back from that person being blacklisted, but we'll just wait a minute here and it should display. Apologize for the length of time here. I'm still thinking about it. And there it pops up. It says no blacklisted emails found. So this is good. It can log in, GSA can get to it, and it's not on any blacklist. So now on here, the settings we want to do is you want to check on use proxies, only trans and SOX proxies. The reason being is you want the private proxies that you're using to be logging in and out of this email account, so it doesn't look suspicious with the same IP logging into the account over and over and over again. That's a quick way to burn out your email. So make sure you always have this second box checked. Time to wait between 2 logins. This is obviously 0 because we only have one email account. So just leave that off. Delete message when verification link is found. I usually uncheck that and check the next one down. It says delete all messages, even if not related to a submission done. And the reason being is it just speeds it up a little more. GSA doesn't have to dig into the thousands of emails that's going to end up in that account to try and fish out the specific link that you might have, that you might have created for that account. So it's just going to save time with GSA jumping into the email and verifying those pieces of it. And so that's basically it. The notes section is just if you want to make notes about what you're doing, where the project is at, if this is phase 1, whatever. It's like your little journal. Don't really care about it. So we're going to hit OK. It says please fill document. I didn't create a PDF document for this, so in this instance I'm just going to right click and hit disable engines that use this. So, and you'll notice that on the document setting it just disabled. It still has it checked, but it's not checking all of them. So it's still going to be able to do the ones that we can submit content to, just not ones that require us providing a specific document. So that should be it, and we should get an error when we say OK. So let's just hit OK. It says no search engine was chosen. This will not generate new backlinks unless you import target sites on your own and only verify links. Continue anyway. Because of the settings that we did in the options where we disabled the engines up here in this box, you will always see this message. Don't let it deter you. We're going to be feeding the target URLs, the target sites, using Gscraper, so we don't need to worry about this. Although we'll do a replica project real quick just so you can see how we can quickly do this without importing URLs the next time. So I'm just going to hit yes, continue anyway, and here we go. Here is our site up here, and I'm just going to rename this real quick, and we're just going to call this example 1. Sounds like a good name for an example project. So let's come in here and we're going to right click, and we need to feed this thing some URLs. So I'm just going to make it inactive real quick, but go to import target URLs, and I'm going to go from file, and this file is going to be the file that we exported from Gscraper once you give it some time to go through it. So I'm just going to select that, and it was the gooder list, and I'm going to open it. Randomized list, yes. I always hit yes, and it imported 235,000 URLs. I'm going to hit OK. One thing that I do like to do before I start it is go down to modify project, and you want to go to sorry, I always get those ones confused. Import target URLs, you want to hit just remove duplicate domains and remove duplicate URLs just one more time, just so you're not going to the same one. So just letting this run through. So it did find some duplicate domains in there, and we're just going to run through again and remove duplicate URLs just in case they didn't get picked up in the domain, and we're good there. So now one trick you can do is if you right click and show URLs and you go to show stats about left target URLs, this will show you how many left you have to post to. So as the project's running, you can check this at any time, and you'll know if this is getting low. If you want to keep running, you're going to have to go import new targets into this project. But that's a quick way to do a test while it's running, and I'm just going to hit OK, just so you guys know about that. And with that, we can just kind of jump in here, and you want to just set this to active, and you just want to go to start when this is ready to go. So I'm just going to hit start so you can watch this thing kind of begin to start up. You can see over here on the left it's starting to open up the threads. Down below you'll notice it's starting to pull in the captchas. The captchas are starting to go, and CPU's running 98. I want to keep that as high as possible because I figure I'm not getting my money's worth unless that's running at almost 100%. Obviously the threads that you did in the global options under your submission settings, you may have to crank that down the more projects that you're doing, so just keep that in mind that it can't go out and do that for each one. So and then basically you're going to see up here it says last verified URLs max 1000, and what this is showing is the successful URLs up to 1,000 of them that are being created. So we have 2 no-follow ones and 0 do-follow so far. It usually takes a little bit of time to get this one kicked into gear, so we'll just let this run for a minute and then I'll unpause it so you can kind of get a little better understanding of what it's doing. So this has been running a little bit of time now. You can see that it's getting close to 300 threads on average over here that's been doing. It's only running about 17 LPM per minute. I guess that's what I get for getting the small server. Typically on my big one I can crank this up all the way. I've gotten as high as 800 LPM before. So you can really get this thing cranking out a lot of links per minute. That's why I recommend getting the biggest server that you can get. Just the more RAM just gives it so much more capability. Not as much lag time and things like that as well. So, 15 per minute isn't bad. Um, typically people, when they start out, should be, between 40 and 60 range as they get this thing running. And you can see that these are starting to populate. The green are the do follows that you see over here, and the yellow are no follows. They got the country flag next to it of where the link is coming from IP wise. They have little symbols here. They're representing what type of link profile, link platform it's coming from. Down here you'll see it's just giving messages about the product or project. And so, it says it's going through and running the links that I gave it. And basically you just want this to run over time, and in the next video I'll show you how to do a little bit of cleanup, because you essentially, what you want to do is keep this running a lot faster and be able to submit a lot faster as well. Right, typically when you first initially start up the projects and stuff, it's just not performing as well just because it's the first time doing some stuff. So anyways, I'll show you how to kind of do some upkeep and cleaning on your list next video. But you're basically off to the racing horse in this, and bad analogy. You can tell it's getting late again. I apologize. So I will see you in the next video. Okay, and we're back, and we're gonna go over a little bit of house cleaning here for you guys maintaining your lists. I went ahead and stopped this project that we were running for the example, and we want to come into here and we click on options, and under the advanced tab you're gonna click over here, and a few things I just wanted to show you guys that's kind of interesting. So in here, something I do monthly is these 3 items here. So when you come in, I always remove duplicate domains again. When you select this, you're just going to uncheck everything but the verified, and you would hit OK, and that would go out and remove any of the ones that have duplicate domains in it. And that list is based off of every project you've ever run in GSA. The ones that are verified end up in this folder. And so basically what I want to do is remove duplicate domains. Once that's done, go and remove duplicate URLs. And finally I want to do cleanup, check and remove none working. And that process can take a little bit of time, so that's why I only do it once a month. And when you're done doing that, basically what I want to do is then go back out and see if my verifieds can re-verify. And so my process of doing that is, if you open this folder, this is where the verified lists go from all the projects that you have, and this is a list of all the different types of platforms that GSA has been successful in posting to. These were all your verified links end up. And so basically what I want to do is grab everything in here, I copy it and put it into a new folder on the desktop. Once that copy is made in that new folder, I come in here and I delete everything out. And then after I do that, I'll just go do another project that I want to work on, and I will import everything in that folder that I copied out of the verified. And you just select all the files and import it all into a new project all at once. And that way you're keeping up your verified list, so you always know that they'll be the most verified that you can get. And those lists that you start creating run a lot faster. Like you'll start seeing 1-to-1 to 4-to-1 verified per submitted. It increases your success rate enormously, and by only submitting links to your projects that GSA is having success with is going to speed up the amount of time you can actually post links with. Because with this list that we put in here, it might be able to verify to some, it might not, but how cool would it be if you knew that every one of those were going to be verified from putting it in. So That's the process of why I go in and re-verify my verified links. And then that way, what you end up with is once it runs through, once you do that cleanup and you've run through the verifieds, what ends up in this folder at that point is going to be your true verifieds that you have as of that date in the month. Um, so, and with that, that allows us to do another setting in here. So I recommend always continually scraping. It's going to morph your IP footprint, and you never want to do the same list just over and over and over again. That's how these people are getting busted in Google. I'm sure some of you saw that people lost some YouTube rankings and things like that. Well, that just comes down to a lot of people like to use the blog comments. You'll notice that that's why I took it out of my list. There's so many free blog comment downloads that you can get out there, and everybody and their uncle are using them. So I just got them out completely because I don't even want to be 50 feet within that footprint that all these other people are using. Also, that's kind of the same thing as if you're just going to, well, I don't want to do GSA, so I'm just going to order a 5 gig. Well, think of how many other people out there are using that 5 gig. You're going to end up, it might work for a while, but eventually Google's going to say, you know what, it's either going to end up in the penguin filter, and so sites attached to those links are going to get penalized, or you're going to end up with a situation where they just discount them, and then you lose your rankings. Same thing with a lot of software that's sold out there. So that's why you just got to be diligent in creating your own lists, rely on your own footprints, and constantly be growing that. So you're never falling into the same category as everyone else out there on the web that are just, frankly too lazy to build their own lists. So another thing that you want to do, so that's kind of how I do the house cleaning. Another good thing to go into, if you go into advanced again and then click on tools, you want to go down and hit show stats, and over to the right, it might be a little bit off the screen, but it's going to show, you want to show verified, and this brings up a list of all the verified links that you've had for this project. Obviously this example project's only been running for about 5 minutes, so we only have one in here, but this can help me identify, like, to build my list stronger. You'll typically notice that you're able to get a lot more. So social network here, for instance, and the URL shortener are my highest ones. So maybe when I'm scraping with my overall list, I might make a specific list to only scrape for some of these ones that have, less success rate with. So, run a search for keywords and do a deeper dive into maybe an individual platform, such as like RSS-Plazoo or something like that. And that would hopefully help you generate more successful links that you can get from that platform specifically. So this tool here can be useful for, maybe what you should be scraping for using Gscraper. So, and you go through and get the footprints for that specific platform and do scrapes just for those. And so that's kind of a way to keep building a stronger list. Again, starting out it's a little rough because you're having to build those lists, and I know it can take some time, but sticking with it, you're going to be able to just rank stuff super easy. I'll go into how I go about ranking YouTube videos next, because that's seems to be what people come to me the most with what they want to rank. But we'll go into that in the next video. But those are kind of the maintenance things that you want to do once a month. Again, you're going in. Just pull this over a little bit so people can see it. I think it might be falling off a little bit there. You want to make sure you're going down to remove duplicate domains, just on the verified, remove duplicate URLs just on the verified, and then do a cleanup very last. And then rerun your verified list after you make a copy, and then delete out of this folder, and then import the links of the copy folder that you made and run it through the project. So, and then as you do that, when you go in and you set up another project, if you click on here to edit, um, if you've done a pretty good job with importing new URLs and stuff like that, and you're not being keyword niche specific on certain projects, like any high domain authority site with 100, you don't really need to be niche specific. You just need to blast it with some juice. But if you come into here under options, instead of importing those lists that you're doing, you can just come down here and click on this, and that'll make it so the project pulls from what you have already verified, so you wouldn't have to import anything into that specific project. And so that's why we did that setting in the last video or the video before, whichever it was. So just so you kind of know the reasoning behind that. I think we've kind of tied up all the loose ends on that. So anyways, I look forward to maybe giving you guys a little bit of bonus and telling you how I rank YouTube videos in the next video. So I will see you guys there, and happy GSAing. Hello everyone, and welcome back to a bonus video. I hope a lot of you have taken some consideration taking the domain authority stacking course. I think we've gone over quite a bit of detail in that course of hopefully giving you guys an understanding of why things are ranking today in Google. So with that, you'd understand a lot more of why GSA is working the way it does, even though it's spammier and almost takes you back to the old days of SEO where you just blast a site with links and it would rank. So anyways, if you are considering taking that, I do recommend taking that, as it's going to open your eyes to really why things are working in Google the way it is, and hopefully prepare you into the changes that will happen with the semantic web in the future. But with that, I wanted to kind of give you guys that signed up for this course a little bit of a bonus in case there are those of you out there that are trying to rank YouTube videos. YouTube is a domain authority of 100. It is part of Google. And basically, in a nutshell, what I do, you can either go to Qzx400 Gxa. They have times where you can sign up and times where you don't. And what this will do is allow you to get views on your video. Now, what I typically do is I'll go in and I'll order 200 to 500 views, and then I'll get a simple thing as getting 13 likes on a YouTube video, and I let that run. Immediately after I send that, I go and I hit start on the campaign for the YouTube video that I'm running, right after I order the views and likes. And I found that social interaction with the traffic and then also the link boost, it just takes these videos and shoots them right to the top very quickly. If you weren't lucky enough to sign up for Qzx when it was open, you can also utilize ytviews.com. It's another similar service. You can't quite control how many views you get, but both of these I found are still pretty safe today. With Qzx, just be careful when you're ordering views. I have found you only want to do it to one video at a time in a channel. Don't go out and order the views for every video in a channel, because it will ban it that way. But basically, that's it in a nutshell. I just wanted to throw this out there for you guys, so those of you that are doing a little bit of video marketing can really know how easy it is just to rank a video. And you'll see videos shoot up and down. One thing you'll notice, if you've been doing this for a while with GSA, is it'll get its rankings right away, and it might be a day or two in there where it just disappears, and people freak out and they're like, oh crap, it's de-indexed or whatever people are thinking. Keep applying the links, it'll come back. When it comes back, it's going to bounce in higher than where it was to begin with. And so a lot of times I've seen people where they apply the links and it ranks good, and then it drops off, and so they stop sending the links. Don't do that. Just keep the gas on, and it'll come back and it'll rank just fine. I've done this time and time again. You don't really need anything else to rank your videos. It also works good. That method even works a lot better with Google Hangouts as well. So it's faster response time. You almost do it within a day's time with a Google Hangout. About 3 to 5 days if it's just a YouTube video. So just want to throw that out there. I appreciate you guys taking this course, and in the next video, we're just going to run over some frequently asked questions that I've gotten. Maybe it'll help answer maybe things that you've had in your mind, and lessons learned from my end. So I will see you guys in the next video. Okay, and welcome back. This is kind of a lessons learned kind of video, so kind of want to give people a better idea of when it's okay to use GSA and when it is not. You know, going back, just give you guys kind of an idea, I was still having success ranking money sites all the way up until Penguin 2.1 using GSA solely. So, you know, it's a very powerful tool, and the amount of links that you can pump out of it, and the amount of variety and the sheer volume, just it's so much juice pushing through GSA, especially if you're building your lists right. You can really get those sites ranked. But when it comes to high domain authority, basically you can do the aggressive method on anything with domain authority of 100. You know, the YouTube video works good, but you can still do it with Facebook. You can do it with LinkedIn. You could do it with anything with domain authority 100. Basically will rank. So, you know, keep that in mind. One thing I kind of want to walk people through, even though this isn't, you know, the settings and stuff of GSA. You know, so for one thing, until you get very good with GSA, don't attempt anything to your money site. It's just not worth the risk, and I don't want to be responsible for anybody, you know, burning their baby. So on this diagram here, I'm going to try to give a few examples of things that are hopefully this will make sense. So when's it okay? So from my experience, I know that Google is looking at tier 2 links, and you're like, well, oh crap. You know, I sent a bunch of GSA links going to some of my tier 2 or tier 1 properties. Now, for those that don't know what a tier is, it's just saying, you know, if I have a site that's linking to you know, let's say it's linking to my money site, this right here would be a tier 1, and then the one under it, let's say this was another site linking up to it. You know, sorry, I'm doing this kind of on the fly. Figured would make the most sense for people that, you know, maybe are just starting or never heard of tiers. I apologize if this is too basic, but I just wanted everybody to be on the same page here for those of us that might be new taking the course. So this would be considered a tier 1, and this is a tier 2 link. Okay, and so now that you kind of know what I'm talking about with the tiers, now when I send my GSA links, it's okay to blast all you want when it's a no follow link going to your site. So in other words, this doesn't pass juice going to your site. It's okay to just hammer this, because the nofollow provides a buffer between the links going to it and the links going out of it. So your money site would be protected. A good example of this would be when you create a YouTube video and you put your link down in the description. All those in the description are nofollow links, and so when you're hammering your YouTube videos with GSA, even though you might be linking to your money site in the description of the YouTube video, it's perfectly safe. You're not going to burn your money site because you sent GSA to your YouTube video. So just keep that in mind for when you're using GSA. Another example I would want to add is, let's say that let's say for an example that this is a do follow site, you know. Well, now linking up to your money site with a do follow, there's certain things you want to be aware of. So if I sent an anchor text to this money site, then I don't want to send more of the exact anchor to this site. I only want to send URL branded in other. So other is like click here, visit this site now, whatever. And that's if this link here, this green arrow, if the link from the Gxa to the money site is an anchor text. Now let's say it's not an anchor text, and let's say that it is a branded or a URL link. Then in that instance, you're okay to send anchor type links using GSA directly to that do follow high domain authority site, but only if this was a URL based link or a other type link. So those are kind of the flipping and flopping you got to be aware of. I have had sites go down where I had a do follow link going here, and then I blasted the do follow page on the Gxa property with exact match GSA, and that's just Google is looking at that. You can do it to an extent, but you got to be careful. I'm dealing with a list of, on mine I have 17 million verified URLs in my GSA list. If you only have a few thousand or a few hundred, you probably don't need to worry about that as much, but I'm just trying to give you the rules and things that I've experienced over time. So now a good example is, okay, well, when should I use this? So let's say I did a do follow link, but I still want to get as much juice through there. So one thing you could do is you could create a sub page. So for instance, on some of the 2.0 sites, you can create a page on there. So you'd have your page with your link, and then on here you would have your, this would be like your subdomain on property. And within the navigation itself, the link juice, I would send GSA to this from the main, so like from your main domain, not your main domain, from your, say this is a Weebly, so for example, let's say it's example.weebly.com is the Weebly page I created. So that's like the root subdomain that you created. Well, I can create another page on there, and I would link from this over to this with a money anchor, and then from this over to that, and you could use money or branded or URL at that point. But that's basically creating it so GSA links would be on tier 3. So you got tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So that's just some stuff to keep an eye on. There's different ways to kind of configure where you're going to use GSA, but unless you're going to tier 1, you don't have to worry too much on whether it's money or URL if you're hanging out here on tier 3. But definitely if GSA was in this, if it was in this ballpark here, you definitely want to be aware of, are you sending an anchor text link to the money site, or is it branded? Especially if it's do follow, you got to be watching that. So just a few things I wanted to cover with you guys. I hope that makes sense. I'm not the best at explaining things sometimes, but trying to think of anything else that may have popped out at me. I've had people ask questions where they're not getting as high a verified. Their LPM is low. Well, I just installed that last example project on not the best. The server was good, but it's far less RAM than I normally use, and you could tell the difference going from 23 LPM to 800 is a big difference. Will GSA work into the future? I think to an extent, but you're going to have to be more careful where you place the GSA links in the tier. It's a good way to push that page authority, but you don't necessarily want to overdo it, and you want to also just keep in the back of your mind, Google's looking at tier 2. So with that, you can kind of come up with your own strategies on what might work best for the properties that you're trying to rank in Google. But with that, I hope all of you have enjoyed this course. It's been fun putting this together, and I apologize that sometimes it might be dry, and you have to deal with my dry humor, but I guess that's the luck of the draw. Anyways, I wish you guys all the best of luck, and I hope these settings and things help you rank the high DA sites that you're looking for, and look forward to doing other projects with Network Empire, and we will be in touch, I'm sure, on the forums. So, see you soon.